Hey there, this is Natalie, and I haven't done one of these for a while, so today I'm going to be responding to a video that got on my nerves. It was Espiritu that showed me this, and he might be doing his own response video too, so look out for that. The video in question is from a channel called Ibs, which has a decent following at around 225k subs, which is much bigger than me right now, so I'm definitely not punching down here. But as always when I do this kind of video, I have to give the little disclaimer that no hate is intended towards the creator and don't go and bully him. Honestly, it kind of annoys me that we have to treat our viewers like rambunctious children, but I don't want to get cancelled, especially not at Christmas. As a quick note before I start picking apart this guy's views on anime, fan service, and what a bunch of losers we all are, if you've donated to me on Ko-fi this year, you should have received a special Christmas card in your email, just as a kind of thank you for being total lifesavers in what's been a tough year. If you haven't received it, check your spam folder. If you're a member of my Patreon, you should have received a different one, and if you did both, you should have both. I'll be continuing to send them out to anyone who donates or joins my Patreon between now and Christmas too. And I kind of need the support at the moment, so there are links in the description if you want to help me out this freezing cold holiday season. I'm sending the cards out manually though, so be patient if you don't get it instantly. And of course, you can also help me out by liking and commenting, and by subscribing and gently caressing the notification bell if you haven't already. And with that YouTuber stuff out of the way, let's talk about Ibs' video, titled Fanservice in Anime is Going Too Far. This video is only about 2 months old, though you wouldn't think it from the examples he uses. But let's begin at the beginning.
Fanservice in anime has become a pretty heavy debated topic. Fanservice can be two characters fighting that people have always wanted to see fight, or it can be two other things kinda in your way. And in this video, we will be talking about the latter, the fan service that usually makes people uncomfortable. You know, the fan service that you don't want your parents to walk in on you watching.
Well, I don't really worry about my parents walking in on me watching anything because I'm an adult. This guy is about to tell us he's an adult too, and the way he talks throughout the video seems like he's addressing an audience of adults. But yeah, relatable I guess. I do like that he did start out by mentioning that fan service isn't always used to refer to ecchi type stuff in shows though. A lot of people do overlook that anything that's there specifically because it's what the creators perceive the fans to want can be classified as fan service. This can be stuff like having favourite old characters reappear in a series, like with characters from the original Star Wars trilogy appearing in The Force Awakens, or David Tennant and Catherine Tate being brought back for the recent Doctor Who anniversary specials. No panty shots in sight, but it is designed to get a positive reaction from existing fans. It can also be, as he said, fights between characters people would like to see fight, but who wouldn't normally have a reason to within the narrative. This is in fact the main reason why so many shonen shows have tournament arcs, so we can see strong characters who are allies fight with at least some stakes, because fans want to see how it would go. Fan service of any kind is essentially a type of pandering, but unlike the pandering we discuss when it comes to stuff like Disney trying to win over woke audiences, it's pandering to the perceived interests of the fans a series or character already has, to make the experience even more fun for them. Rather than trying to appeal to previously uninterested people, the creators would desperately love to have as fans for financial reasons, so it generally feels a lot less cynical. As for the type of fan service he's going to be talking about for the rest of the video, yes, that is there for the same reason in anime, just as it is in many other forms of media. If girls in skimpy outfits in an anime make you uncomfortable, I'm going to have to assume you also feel terribly uncomfortable when you see certain music videos. And you would probably really like the Fast and Furious movies if it wasn't for all those terrible scenes of girls in booty shorts. I tell you, you should be glad you didn't grow up in the 90s when, you won't believe this, right? There was this TV show about lifeguards where Pamela Anderson used to run in slow motion in a skimpy bathing suit. it totally ruined the otherwise heartwarming plotlines about rescuing drowning kids. My point is that fan service of this type exists in all different kinds of media, and if you're freaked out by Urza Scarlet in a bikini, but not by a Shakira video or Megan Fox's scenes in the early Transformers movies, it's more likely you're just uncomfortable with the idea that people might think you like the anime fan service, thus making you the type of person you've built up in your mind as a pathetic creep with no bishes. So let's go on to see if I'm right. Well, I am because I've already seen the video, but pretend to feel some suspense about the hot takes to come.
I want to give you some backstory, right? So I have indulged pretty heavily into anime ever since the age of 14. It has slowed down heavily since I've gotten into my early 20s. I mean, I'm probably caught up to 3 animes now, like Attack on Titan, and really I don't even know what else animes I watch, but that's really about it. But in my early teen years, I've watched hundreds of animes, probably tens of thousands of episodes. I wish I'd made one of those My Anime lists because I've actually forgotten 90% of the anime I've watched. And I want to say that fan service has definitely ruined anime for me to some degree. And if that makes me a fake fan or a normie or whatever, dude, I don't really give a shit. So be it, right?
I have to wonder if part of the reason people call him a normie is that he keeps saying animes. Though, to be honest, I wouldn't say someone who's watched one anime series in recent memory is a fake fan. I would just say they were not a fan at all anymore. Sure, you watched a lot of it when you were a kid, but when I was a kid I read a lot of Sweet Valley High novels, but I wouldn't say I'm a fan of them now. He seems to have just outgrown his interest in anime, which he's blaming on how the fan service makes him feel. Yet there are plenty of serious anime fans who don't enjoy fan service or ecchi content either, and manage to find a wide range of shows every season that do appeal to them. Now, they don't get mocked or gate-kept out, because they don't go around complaining that the anime that does have fan service shouldn't. They just accept it's not for them and watch and talk about the stuff that is. Even if you just want to watch mainstream shonen, which, let's be honest here, he probably does. Jujutsu Kaisen is hardly obscure, and the only fan service in that is Gojo Satoru's eyes. And if you'd let your taste in anime grow with you, instead of wondering why you don't find the same stuff you liked when you were 14 as appealing now, this would make more sense to you. Sure, some people continue to love their favourite shonen series as adults, but there are so many entire genres of anime out there aimed more at older teens and adults that there are plenty of options to move on to if battle shonen just doesn't grab your attention as you get older. Anime is just a medium, and you can find pretty much any type of story you want, but it requires you to actually seek it out or engage with the community to get recommendations that will match your tastes. If you actually did that, instead of just looking at the few current mainstream shonen shows like My Hero Academia and Demon Slayer, you'd probably have a very different perception of what variety there is in terms of anime, of whether or not you're going to have to feel uncomfy, and also what anime fans are actually like. I'm an anime YouTuber and I don't even watch My Hero Academia or Demon Slayer. I didn't get into anime until I was already an adult, so I never really connected with that style of shonen series, yet I still miraculously have plenty to talk about. Though I don't think our Puritan friend Ibs here would like the shows I like. I really wouldn't want to see what he made of Mushoku Tensei.
I can name off specific animes that have gotten completely ruined due to the fan service. I mean, everybody knows Fairy Tail. It's became such a meme of an anime because of how bad the fan service is. And I gotta say, I actually really enjoy the world building and the story of Fairy Tail. It's just that they can't animate for shit, and they put all the budget of animation into the boobs. I mean, think about it, bro. You watch a slideshow of a fight, a PowerPoint presentation that it's supposed to be an animated fight, right? And then 2 seconds after the fight is over, they have the best jiggle physics you would ever see animated on the booba. You could tell somebody sat there for a good hour and animated that pristinely. They sat down for an hour for 3 seconds of jiggle physics. And it makes me wonder, what is the point of the anime if the fight scenes are gonna look like a high school presentation, but the Jiggle physics looks like the president himself requested it. What is the point of the show?
Actually, I wouldn't say the fan service did ruin Fairy Tail. Fairy Tail is one of the few long-running shonen series I've watched all of, and one of the reasons I like it is that it's just generally funnier than most battle series. And maybe I'm just juvenile, but I find jokes about booba and over-the-top fan service just funny. I'm a straight woman. It's not like I'm bothered about seeing booba, which is just as well because I see them every time I look down. But if other people want to see them, and it's just kind of funny in terms of what's happening in the scene, then why would I care? Why would that ruin my enjoyment of the story and world building? And to be honest, while I am a straight woman, I'd still rather look at pretty things on my screen than boring or ugly ones. So maybe I wouldn't love some of the female characters as much as I do if they'd been less attractive or had less fun outfits. In Fairy Tail and other shows like it, they're all cartoon characters, so they can be as cool looking as the artist wants to make them, and there's a fun in seeing them in different outfits and so on that appeals to a lot of girls, as well as to guys who want to see their devil's melons. Additionally, what is he on about with the animation? Yes, Fairy Tail doesn't have the peak of animation in every single battle, but this is a show with 328 episodes, and fight scenes in the majority of them. It's not realistic to expect pure Sakuga, like you'd really only get a couple of times a season, even in a seasonal show with a decent budget, like say Sword Art Online, in a long-running shonen battle series. Though apparently it took an hour to make Lucy's Oppai jiggle. Source? His ass.
Okay, Fairy Tail is a pretty big meme for its fan service. I guess that's not a fair representation. How about I choose an anime that people actually enjoy nowadays, like Fire Force? I think I might actually get a bit of hate for this because this anime is actually beloved, but what is the point of a firefighter wearing a bikini?
They always have to bring up Fire Force. I swear, nothing says I want to whine about fan service but don't really know anything about current anime like referring to Fire Force as if it's the most popular thing on the planet, and as if fan service isn't literally part of the plot and very obviously done for comedy. Is Fire Force even that popular? It hasn't been on since 2020, and I know a lot of people like it, but when people want to make this point, they act like it's the hottest show that everybody's talking about. Noralities did the same thing, and it's baffling to me, because while I think it's a fun show, I haven't seen people mentioning it at all since it was airing, and not much hype around the Season 3 announcement. And bear in mind I do follow a lot of anime fans. If anything, you see more people talking about Soul Eater, an older series by the same author, which I don't remember having any fan service to speak of. But since he's decided to take the route of using Fire Force as his crap example, he's got to have watched it, right? I mean, even Noralities had actually watched it. Nope.
Not to mention a 16-year-old firefighter. Okay, she's actually 17, but allow me to describe her off the way the wiki describes her appearance. Tamaki is a young girl. Her outfit consists of black panties and bra. Tamaki's torso is open, revealing her entire stomach area and cleavage. Her trousers are also exposed at the buttocks. Oh, and I forgot, they do make note of her curvaceous body. You know, I hate to say this, but if I described a 17-year-old girl like this, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be allowed within 100 feet of a high school, which I'm already not, but not for this reason.
You know the wiki is written by fans, not the creator of the show, right? And it seems to me they just literally described her character design, as one would typically do while completing the appearance section on a character's wiki page. As for what she's wearing, you do know this isn't a realistic drama about the work of real-life firefighters, or you would if you'd watched it, or even read a bit further in the wiki. It's not London's Burning, it's a fantasy series, and since the comedy centred around the character in question is all about kind of self-aware fan service, the question the author more likely asked is, why shouldn't she be wearing a bikini? Still though, he's being a bit disingenuous by not reading out the next part of the wiki, which describes the other outfits she wears regularly. And these descriptions don't sound very lewd at all, do they? While off duty during her time at the First, Tamaki wore a modest outfit, which consists of a light dress, a dark-coloured garment with long sleeves over it, leggings, dark shoes, and a headband. Tamaki's collar is tied up with a string in a ribbon-like fashion that has a cross-like button on it. As a member of the 8th Special Fire Brigade, she wears an orange jumpsuit. She also wears the habit of a nun when performing religious services, including blue lines to signify her being part of a special fire force. So she's a character who would like to dress modestly, but she has this unlucky trait called unlucky lecher that means she ends up in embarrassing fan service situations all the time. Whether you think that's funny or not, and whether you think it got old quickly or not, that's subjective, but there's a function to all of it in the show they're intentionally putting there that you're ignoring. You're also using Fire Force as an example, as if to say all popular anime is like this, when due to this being a feature of the comedy in the show, it is naturally far more exaggerated in Fire Force than in the average shonen. It's a bad example. It's like saying all romantic comedies are full of constant sex jokes because Shimonetta is, when that aspect being exaggerated is part of the point of Shimonetta. What this aims to do in practice in Fire Force is to make it so the fan service is fun, both for the people who really do just want to see something a bit lewd, and the people like me who find fan service more comical than anything. And it also makes a clear statement that if you don't like that kind of thing, you should choose something else to watch, because it's not going to compromise what the creator thinks is entertaining and wants to make to suit you. As for the age thing, we'll come to that, because he's got a lot more points coming up.
I'm actually genuinely curious because, like, what is the point, bro? Like, you don't understand the bikini firefighting. Like, what? What is the point, dude? You can't make it make sense. You genuinely can't make it make sense. And if you have to say, like, oh, her ability has to work, she has to be half naked for her ability to work. Like, you know, like, half of the My Hero Academia cast. Like, why does the writer have to write so dog shit that the cast has to be naked in order for their abilities to work? It sounds like cope, doesn't it? Like, the writer of this manga is like, how am I supposed to sexualize a 15-year-old girl without looking like a creep? Oh, that's right. Her ability. She has to be naked to perform her ability.
But she doesn't have to be naked to use her powers. You're arguing against something you just made up in your head. I don't know about My Hero Academia. I mean, the art style is so ugly to me that I don't know how you'd even go about making them look sexy for fan service, but I do hear it has a lot of it. I don't care myself, but sure, if you're the type of person that doesn't like fan service, just don't watch it. Like I said, try Jujutsu Kaisen or something. It's better anyway. This is really the crux of it. If fanservice-y anime was all there was, then sure, you may have a right to complain, but it really isn't. The fact fanservice is still a feature in a lot of series means a lot of people do like it, so it sells, and creators clearly find it fun to write it or draw it. Why anyone would think that should be taken away from them just so that they can feel more comfortable watching a show, when there are plenty of other shows out there. Or they could just watch the fanservice show and be indifferent to the fanservice if they grew up a bit, is completely beyond me.
It's genius! No, it's not, bro! You're a pedophile! I see through it! And there is some times where fan service is kind of appreciated, like when the character is of age. If it doesn't happen every 5 seconds, like there is like a specific scene or episode, like I think Attack on Titan has like one where it showed off like Mikasa's new physique in the new season or something. It's like, it's nothing crazy. It doesn't happen 5 times an episode. It's just one scene. It doesn't even show off that much, and you just move on. I would say this is a scene that like your parents could walk in and you wouldn't feel weird.
Throwing around the P word is about to become a feature of this video, and I want to stay monetized, so censorship in my anti-censorship takes will be coming up. But first, what he just said was that fan service is okay if it's of the characters he wants to see it of, and at the frequency he prefers. In his ideal world, he's like the arbiter of how many devil's melons you can see, I guess. I wouldn't even class those Mikasa shots as fan service. At least no more so than scenes of Erin and other male characters shirtless. Sure, she looks good, but the narrative reason is to show how in shape she is more than anything, which is relevant to what's happening in the story. As I said earlier, if you're going to put that information across, you may as well do it in a way that's appealing to look at on screen, because people enjoy looking at pretty things. As for characters being of age, well, most of the characters in Fairy Tail are of age, especially after the 7-year time skip, so I guess that's falling foul of your rule about how often there should be fan service. For you to be comfortable, some is okay, but not too much. And maybe, just maybe, how much is too much is actually subjective. And maybe the people who make these series, once they've established that a show will contain that kind of content, have a sense of how frequent it should be in the particular show they're creating to best appeal to their target audience without stalling other elements of the series. You know, like the story. Of course, a story like Attack on Titan would be undermined by more than a tiny amount of it, whereas a story like High School of the Dead, which is campy and over the top, can tolerate dialing up to 11 for both the comedy and ecchi appeal. Comparing the shows you think got it right with the ones you don't is more likely to reveal a big gap in the seriousness of the story versus the freedom it has to kind of go crazy with those kinds of elements. Fairy Tail and Fire Force may have their serious moments, but they are fun fantasy adventures, whereas Attack on Titan is not really supposed to be fun at all. There are no flying talking cats in Attack on Titan either, for the same reason. I've cut a bit out of his video here as he's just repeating his bewilderment about why a firefighter would ever wear a bikini. But next he does actually almost seem to get it.
So it's came to my attention while editing this video that Fire Force actually does parody fan service on purpose. Like, they do it on purpose as a joke, like to make fun of other animes that do it. And I guess that does make it a little bit more understandable, but it's still kind of weird. Also, it's hard to say that it's just parody when she's not the only fan service character, and it happens quite a lot.
So I guess he did find out a bit more about Fire Force, though it still wasn't good enough for him. I mean, sure, I can get people criticizing that. Are you really parodying something that effectively if you're still actually doing the thing you're making fun of? And I think that is a fair criticism to make in this case. Except, I don't think Fire Force necessarily needs to have an excuse, like it being a parody, to make it okay for there to be all the fan service there is in it. Unless you're putting in something it's illegal to show your audience, the only justification I think a creator needs is, that's what we wanted it to be like. It's what we thought our audience would enjoy. And we decided to go with a more comedic approach to it because we also thought people would be entertained by that.
So yeah, I'm kind of scared to start new animes out because I feel like I'm going to get hooked on the first 2 episodes and then the third one's going to have naked children in it. So that's why I don't watch anime anymore.
I'm fairly certain that this has absolutely never once happened to you. Most fan service heavy shows make their intentions clear in that respect right from episode 1. This is because to the audience they're trying to appeal to, the fan service is a selling point. They're not trying to sneak it in once you already like the show just to upset you, or because they really want to show everyone how good they are at animating booba. If there's going to be fan service, there will be fan service in episode 1, so people who like fan service are more likely to watch episode 2. As for naked children, there are very few mainstream anime where you're going to see naked children. In fact, the only one I can think of is Made in Abyss, and that's not a fanservice-y show. It's one of those weird things with it where you just have to kind of manage to ignore it if you like everything else about the show. You know, like you could very easily do with all those booba that are so frightening to you. What you will see is fanservice of teenagers, who will have adult-looking character designs, and which you'll probably even know are teenagers by looking them up on the wiki, or by the setting of the series, for instance a high school. And that's where we're going later, but first a detour into another very predictable territory.
But let's talk about those animes that are actually designed to be like raunchy rom-com animes. You know exactly what I'm talking about, like those softcore hentai animes that come out. There's like 5 of them that come out a season, if not more.
Sorry, look at the screen and think about what he just said. Softcore H animes. And we have Nagatoro, Uzaki-chan, Takagi-san, and Komi. Now, for a start, the tweet he's showing here is not someone referring to the fan service in these shows, at all. It's referring to the teasing girl genre of romantic comedy, and saying basically that only losers enjoy that character dynamic. It's incorrect, given Komi isn't part of that genre at all, and it's my favourite type of rom-com, because I find characters like Nagatoro really funny and relatable. So, hey, if a lot of single guys are into it too, you know where to find me. But still, the bottom two have no fan service to speak of, and while Nagatoro and Uzaki have some lewd humour, and of course Uzaki is stacked, they're not anything close to softcore anything. If he'd used an example like World's End Harem, which is basically as close to H as you can get in mainstream anime, I'd be with him. Yes, that is a type of show that exists and that people watch. And yeah, if you want to watch it, you're expecting that kind of thing. So people who hate fan service aren't going to watch it, and it's basically irrelevant to his video. But just the brokenness of having this on screen while he's saying that.
And then, you know, all like the 20-year-old e-girl pick-me girls have to go and rush the cosplay of the main female lead cast so they can, like, you know, get all the simps all over them and stuff. And I'm just gonna say it, bro. These animes are either designed for, like, 14-year-old kids that don't have very good parental supervision, or for, like, bitchless 20-year-olds. Or 30-year-olds. Who knows, man?
Well, of course, he was gonna have to talk about My Dress Up Darling. This bit really genuinely annoyed me. So, the only reason a woman would cosplay as Marin is because she's a pick-me and wants the 20 and 30-year-old losers to simp for her? Have you considered that a woman who is passionate about cosplay simply likes expressing how much she likes certain characters through that hobby, and also enjoys looking as pretty or sexy as she thinks the character is, because she finds it fun? And then, if we assume that is the case for at least some of them, if not, I would say the vast majority, would it not make sense that they would like and relate to Marin Kitagawa, who is a cosplayer who is passionate about cosplay simply because she likes expressing how much she likes certain characters through that hobby, and also likes looking as pretty or sexy as she thinks the character is, because she finds it fun? But no, a girl couldn't possibly like that series without either working an angle for money or being a pick-me. It is impossible. The only people who could genuinely like a show where you see someone cosplay in skimpy outfits would be a man who has never known the touch of a woman. Definitely not someone who enjoys the character dynamics between the leads, their attitudes towards their lives and the things that make them happy, or even just the comedy in the show. After all, it's not like there's any other way to see girls in bikinis other than watching My Dress Up Darling.
And it's not fair to complain about the fan service in an anime like this, because the show is literally designed to be fan serviced. What I will be making fun of is the people that watch these shows. So as a teenager watching anime really hasn't hit the mainstream yet. It kinda did, but not exactly. But watching anime, I got teased a little bit for it, and I never understood why, you know? As a teenager, yeah, there was some fan service things that I enjoyed, but I was a kid, and looking back on it, I kind of enjoyed more of the adventure, the writing, the storytelling, the like world building, and then of course the build-ups to the fights and the animations. But then as I watched more and more anime and got older, I started to realize that there is a lot of anime out there that relies strictly on fan service. I'm not even talking about fan service animes. I'm talking about like actual action adventure fighting animes. And then there is the animes that are designed to be fan service, and it's like, who is the target audience for this? Because it's not kids. It can't be kids, you know? So I started to realize this is either for unsupervised young teens or adult men that can't talk to women. Like, if you are in your 20s and you don't know how to talk to women, you cope by watching Dress Up Darling. And in a way, it does kind of ruin anime for me, because the target audience are these like perverted weirdos. And so the majority of anime being created are designed for these perverted weirdos. I mean, let's be honest. About like 7/8 of the anime out there are hot garbage. And it feels degrading saying, yeah, I'll watch anime. Not any of the weird ones, though. I watch the good anime. I shouldn't have to say that. And it's because people do know that anime is catered to perverted, socially outcasted weirdos.
I don't really know about the whole bullying people who liked anime in school thing, since it just wasn't really a thing many people were into in the UK when I was a teenager, given it just wasn't on TV. So I didn't know anything about it, and nobody at my school was into it, to my knowledge. Still, from what I can gather, didn't people get bullied more for trying to do jutsus and Naruto running around the school, rather than because they might have seen Lucy from Fairy Tail in a bikini and enjoyed it? In any case, if I were to play the amateur psychologist, it seems like you've kind of internalized the idea of what you didn't want people to think you were for liking anime, i.e. a weirdo who can't get any bitches, and now you essentially believe that is how the people who have different tastes to you actually are. You may be part joking when you say you're going to make fun of the people who like ecchi anime with a lot of fan service because they're definitely all creepy, but you really do think that, don't you? And you really are worried that people might think that about you too. So you have to be like, oh no, I like anime, but only the good anime. I like the adventure and the writing. I'm not gay or anything, I just think it's weird to like 2D women when I can get real women. I'm cool, I promise. Imagine being that insecure about the stuff you find entertaining that you not only just give up on watching it, but you make a point of telling everyone how different you are from the losers who watch it, and why anime should change to be more in line with what the cool people like you like. And of course, never mind the people who it was actually made for. You know, Japanese teenagers. Like, they're probably weird and should be more cool like you, right?
And I got proof of this too, and I know the iFunny comment section isn't the best evidence, but this guy posted a meme on iFunny, and I saw this meme on Twitter too, and I was cooking people on Twitter for that too, but this guy posted this meme on iFunny and then leaves a comment saying, the consequences of normies getting involved with anime has been catastrophic. Normally I'm up for gatekeeping, but I'm sorry that not enjoying naked children on my computer screen makes me a normie. Like, if that makes me a normie, I guess I'm glad to be normal. But the term normie is also used by people that tend to be outcasts, like self-proclaimed outcasts.
So he's pro-gatekeeping. But not if it means calling him a normie for being bothered enough by all the boobs in anime to actually consider it to be a problem that needs to be discussed. I'd love to know what he thinks needs to be gatekept, and from whom. Also, no, normie is not a term used by self-proclaimed outcasts. It's just a term for people who don't get things within an interest. I used to be a normie. Now I'm pretty embedded into anime as an interest, but I've never been an outcast or a misfit in either state. I'm an outgoing person with social skills, and getting a date has never been much of an issue, but then, being a female, maybe I'm just a pick-me. Sure, some styles of media tend to attract maybe more introverted people in the majority, but that doesn't mean they're the only people in those communities. Some people are just drawn to certain types of stories or art styles and end up liking certain types of media as a result. So saying only outcasts know enough about anime to consider other people who don't really get it to be normies is like arbitrarily deciding that only weirdos and outcasts like a certain genre of music. People just like what appeals to them, what entertains them, or makes them feel something, or just looks or sounds nice to them. It must be exhausting judging people's entire lifestyles over unimportant stuff, like whether they like a drawing of Uzaki-chan. As for the, if that means I don't want to look at naked children thing, look, you're just bringing up the worst sounding extreme as a straw man to make yourself sound more reasonable. A lot of people who would consider your takes in this video to be normie takes are not interested in seeing lolly stuff either. They're just not as obsessed with it being the worst scourge on humanity as the people who go off about it on X all the time. You're not even talking about lolly in this video, as you're about to say in a later part, because you disregard that. You're talking about normal fan service, which yes, may involve characters with canon ages of 16 or 17, but which are not drawn to resemble children or written as childish. Their ages are largely irrelevant to their designs, as they tend to look the same if they turn 18 or older in the story anyway. It's just a number the author writes down, so it makes sense for them to be in the setting of the story, and because the target audience is usually teenagers. So, if people are calling you a normie, it's not because you don't like lolly. It's not even because you don't like fan service. It's because you think you're making good, solid points about something that is wrong in anime. It's because you think it would be better if anime was different, universally, because your tastes are better than those of the people in Japan who create it and the people they create it for. And you don't know enough about it to be able to easily find the stuff that already meets your tastes. That's what makes you a normie. If you just embrace that you like something from a different culture, that there are elements of it that might not be comfortable for you, but that you can just leave those alone and explore around it to find stuff that will suit what you like, then I guarantee you'd never get into an argument over the fact you aren't comfortable with lots of fan service again. Now, that's not to say fans can't be critical and have to accept everything about the thing they're a fan of, but there are levels to that. You can criticise an individual work, sure, but what you can't do is criticise an entire form of media and its fans and expect everyone to go, yeah, based, he's caught us there.
I'm sorry, it's just that I've heard so many people be like, oh, you don't like fan service? What, you don't like boobs? What, are you gay? And it's like...
Here's a fact for you. Gay men, like straight women, all hate fan service. This is why no fan service involving male characters exists anywhere.
No, I just like real women, real boobs, and having sex in real life. Which makes me think of another point. A lot of these people refer to women as 3D women. That's how out of touch of reality these people are. They see an animated character and a woman, and they think the only difference between the two is a series of dimensions. And if you want to call women 3D women, that implies that there's an even more sinister option. 4D women.
It's okay, we believe you. You're not a weird incel. Though, to be honest, neither are any of the many, many men I talk to through having a channel like this who don't mind a bit of fan service. A lot of them are married. None of them send me creepy DMs. Seriously, I have a 94% male audience due to the shows I cover being more popular with men. I interact with my audience a lot on X, and I've shown my face and stuff on there, although I haven't in videos. And yet I have never had a creepy or disrespectful message from any of my viewers. And they're way less defensive about the fact they can get actual real live women than you are, because they just have the confidence to just like what they like. Sure, your weird incel types probably do exist, and they just don't talk to me, but given the many, many people who do, who aren't like that at all, and would all be inclined to disagree with your video, it's clear to me that you're wrong. And so I'm standing up for my boys. You know, like a good pick-me. Also, when people say 3D women, they're joking. It ain't that deep, fam. I even say it about myself. It's a self-aware joke, generally, because fans are basically acknowledging that anime girls are often idealized, and so not how someone could expect a real woman to be. Comparisons are therefore just for the memes.
You know how TikTok started the whole like Family Guy double clip with like Subway Surfers and all that? That's how I feel like the writers and like creators of these mangas and animes use anime booba. It's almost like, here's your like 5 seconds of anime booba. Please keep watching. Please don't get bored. Okay, see you in the next 2 minutes. These people watching anime are so brain rotted that they need to watch tits on their screen every like 2 minutes or they'll get bored.
This may well be the case, but it's not a new concept that keeping what's on screen visually stimulating keeps people engaged. You're changing up what's on screen in this video every few seconds, even though a lot of it isn't really adding anything to what you're saying. But you know that people will find what they're looking at less boring if you have, say, a clip of Eminem writing whenever you mention the topic of writing. People's attention spans are short, and this tends to become even more the case with younger audiences. So sure, if you're making something aimed at modern teenagers who have so much choice in terms of what to consume, and you want to keep them engaged, why wouldn't you want to use every tool in your arsenal to do that? Whether it's action, fan service, something funny happening. It's not some major revelation that they do this and it would work, and it's not an indication that there's anything wrong with the audience. It always has worked. Right back at the start I mentioned good old Baywatch from the 90s. Now, what he said next surprised me. I thought we were actually going to end up agreeing on something.
Let's talk about the problem of the sexualization of young teens in anime. And I want to specifically say the young teens because we can all unanimously agree that the people that are into lollies are weirdos, right? The characters that do look like 7-year-old girls. I don't care how many thousand of years the plot says she still looks like 7, and you're still attracted to the fact that she looks like she's 7. And one thing I realized about anime is that, yeah, they usually do portray teenage girls in a sexual manner, but I realized it's not because they're pedophiles or they want to, like, appeal to pedophiles, but because the target audience is literally supposed to be the age of those girls, if not younger.
And if he'd stopped there, great. He concedes that lollies are different from mature-looking teen characters, though that does make his previous 2 references to naked children look like the hyperbole they were. And he says the reasons the characters are often in their mid-teens is because they're designed to primarily appeal to teens in the same age group. Teenagers will normally find a character slightly older than them appealing to watch or read about, but generally not one a little bit younger. And as much as people, especially Americans, like to pretend 16-year-olds are children and never have an impure thought, anyone who's been a teenager knows that's a big fat lie. But we also know that it's generally better if teenagers stick to just being horny little gremlins over people their own age, for their own safety. So the fanservice characters are often the same age or slightly older than the target audience, and given the age of consent in most of the world, including most of Japan, is 16. Most people don't really care if Japanese teenagers are looking at the drawn booba of fictional 16-year-olds. He's making sense. So now let's watch him walk it all the way back and call everyone a nonce.
Don't get me wrong, that doesn't make it right. I don't think you should be pushing softcore pornography onto children, but I mean, like, it's better than, like, catering to pedophiles, which ends up being what it is. I mean, like, if you're into watching sexualized, like, 15-year-olds, you are a pedophile. I mean, creepy young adult dudes, like, are into this stuff, and it's, like, weird to me, bro. Like, if you're not 15, 16, or around that age, and you're watching this stuff, bro, like, what are you doing with your life? People are always like, oh, they're just fictional children. They're not real children. What does that even mean, dude? Like, are you saying that if the power grid goes out nationally and you can't watch anime for, like, the next 2 days, you're gonna go outside and, like, real children? The thing is that the way they argue it makes them seem like pedophiles as well. Like, instead of just saying, oh, well, I just find the lolly or the girl cute. I don't like sexualizing her. I just think she's cute, which I've heard some people say that, and, you know, I guess it's still kind of weird, but a little bit more valid. But these people are like, no, I do sexualize her, but it's okay because she's fictional. Like, what? And I gotta say, the weirdo that's obsessed with anime girls and is a social outcast is very true and real. And I don't care how many black teens that are socially outgoing that you know that also watch the same animes. It doesn't matter, bro. You're still a fucking loser. Like, I see it all the time, dude. Like, there's some, like, loser that's like, I know this black guy that's actually very socially outgoing that also watches the same animes as me, and he's very cool, and that makes me not a loser by association. It's like, no, that's not how it works, buddy. He's doing it to be quirky, you're doing it because you depend on it.
Well, there was a lot in that segment, wasn't there? So, let's go quickfire. First point. Often people like the character for their design without knowing their canon age. I watched Gurren Lagann in its entirety and don't remember it ever being mentioned that Yoko was 14 in the beginning. I found that out later from a video like this. Sure, if people who aren't teenagers like that version of her because she's 14 and then don't like the 21-year-old version who looks practically the same, that's sketchy. But if they just think the character design is sexy without really caring about her made-up age or knowing what it is, that just means they like the design. She does not in any way have a childlike design. Second point, some people like high school-age characters in things like rom-coms because they like to imagine what it would have been like to meet someone like that when they were at school. It's just kind of nostalgic. Liking a made-up person for that kind of reason does not mean you want to do anything with someone that age now. In fact, most millennials hate Gen Z, and Gen Alpha are looking even worse. They need to stop assuming we all find them irresistible because we think Komi-san is cute. Third point. Yes, some people just think lolly characters are cute, myself included. Many lolly characters are actually only designed to be cute, and are in no way sexualized in the shows they appear in. For example, Beatrice in ReZero. It's not weird to think that a cute-looking character doing cute things in an anime is cute. It's the opposite of weird. Some older characters are also designed to be cute, because cuteness is something Japanese people tend to really like, and not everything is dirty. Fourth point. A lot of black people like anime, and it's not to be quirky. As I understand it, and I could be wrong, I'm not black or American, in the US it was popular with black communities before it became more mainstream, as with other Asian culture like kung fu movies. So a lot of African Americans grew up liking it, and kept on liking it because they liked it. Some of these fans will naturally be cool, outgoing people, some will not, just as with anime fans of any other ethnicity, because that's how humans work. But it amuses me that you think the only way someone can be big into anime and not be a total loser is if they're an extroverted black guy, and even then, they're just being quirky. They don't actually, care about it. Don't worry, we're reaching the end. This is his conclusion.
Okay, I don't know what that was all about, but to summarize my points, I think fan service in anime has gotten a little bit too excessive. I think it gets a little bit cringe, and there's a lot of people that are using it as a means to gatekeep because they think this is kind of what anime is about. And I guess I wish there was a finer line in between what I would consider real anime and fan service anime, because sometimes it feels like the fan service bleeds into the real anime. And when I'm expecting a good animated story, well written, it doesn't even have to have fight scenes. It could just be like a romance anime that's really well written and animated. But then what I end up getting is softcore hentai. And also, I don't want to be blended in with the weirdos that watch the weird animes.
Plushies on there and everything. I just know this is some fatherless activity on God, bro.
Imagine how hard it would be to find a well-written romance anime that didn't have loads of fan service. Kaguya-sama? Horimiya? Nah, no one's ever heard of those. You should watch Kaguya-sama though, especially the OVA. If you know, you know. And really, well, I have nothing to add here that I haven't already said. He needs to spend less time whining about what is in the shows he doesn't like, and more time watching the many, many shows he'd probably think were great. And failing that, he needs to stop making up imaginary weirdo anime fans to get angry at in his head. So this was a very long video, but it was kind of cathartic. I haven't done one of these for a while because I don't like to make too much negative content, but sometimes something just annoys me sufficiently to respond to like this. I hope you enjoyed it, but if you didn't, I'll be back with more normal content very soon. Thank you as always to my supporters on Patreon, who are on screen right now, and remember to check your inboxes if you've supported me on Patreon or Ko-fi this year.